Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our virtual Mishnah Berurah here. We begin today Mishnah Berurah Chelik Hey. We're starting on Tzadik Amid Aleph. We're going to be doing primarily Tzadik Amid Beis, but we begin on Tzadik Amid Aleph near the bottom of the page. Siman Tuf Pei Beis. We began the Siman briefly yesterday. Siman Tuf Pei Beis Din Misha Ein Loy Matzoh Shmurah. The halacha of one who does not have a sufficient amount of Shmurah Matzoh to comport himself in the typical way by the Seder. What should he do? Ubay sif echad. We have one sif. Says the mechaber misha ein loy matzah mishumeres ala kazayis. If somebody only has one kazayis of Shmurah Matzoh, how should he run his Seder? If he only has one kazayis of Shmurah Matzoh, and we did yesterday Mishnah Berurah Ois Katan Aleph, and we discussed the different types of Shmurah Matzoh, the different levels of Shmurah Matzoh. There's matzah that's Shmurah Mishas Ketzira, Shmurah Mishas Lisha, Shmurah Mishas Tchina. So we discussed that yesterday. Now we'll pick up with the Mishnah Berurah Ois Katan Beis Ela Kazayis. This person only has one kazayis of Shmurah Matzoh. Says the Mishnah Berurah, V'im Kain, he only has one kazayis. So now what is he going to do? Im yochlu barishayna. If what he'll do is he'll do rachza, he'll wash, and then he'll do maitzi matzah, and he'll eat his kazayis of matzah in the traditional point of the Seder by maitzi matzah. So he'll make the bracha of hamaitzi lechem in aretz, he'll make the bracha of hamaitzi matzah, and he'll eat the one kazayis that he has in order to be mekayim the mitzvah saseh of achilas matzah. Then lo yelei afikaimen. Then he's not going to have Shmurah Matzoh to use for the afikaimen. Now, v'im yirtza lases by gam bimkaim afikaimen. If he'll say, all right, you know what? Why not eat the kazayis of matzah by moitzi matzah? And have in mind when you eat that kazayis of matzah, not only should it be for the achilas matzah, but it should also be for the afikaimen. It should also be a zeich for the carbon pesach. Says the Chavetz Chaim, that's not going to work. In Cain, if he does that, lo yehei rashay lechal acharav. He won't be allowed to eat anything after he eats the matzah. Like we saw earlier in Siman Tuf Ayin Ches, that once you eat the afikaimen, you're not allowed to eat anything after the afikaimen because we want to have the tam of the mitzvah, the tam of the afikaimen in your mouth. Therefore, it's this is why you're going to have to run the Seder the way the Mechaber is now going to explain. So now let's go back into the Shulchan Aruch. So the Shulchan Aruch says, you only have this single kazayis of Shmurah Matzoh. What should you do? Now, this doesn't mean that he's going to start his Seder with the bracha on Morar. Let's see right away in the Mishnah Berurah what this means. Ois Katan Gimel. Mevarech al achilas marar. He should make the bracha of al achilas marar and eat the marar. Says the Chavetz Chaim, Ritzayna loymar. What the Shulchan Aruch wants to say here is la'achar shemevarech mitchila birchas hamoitzi. First, so he's going to have kadesh, orchatz, karpas, yachatz, magid, rachza. Now, after rachza, he's going to make a bracha of hamoitzi. La'achar shemevarech mitchila birchas hamoitzi levad. First, he'll make only a bracha of hamaitzi without a bracha of al achilas matzah. And what matzah will he eat? He's not going to eat the one kazayis of Shmurah Matzoh that he has. Al matzah she'ena mishumeres. So he's going to wash, and he's going to make a bracha of hamaitzi on non-Shmurah Matzoh. So he'll have Pesach Tika matzah that's certainly not chametz stick, but it's not Shmurah Matzoh. So he'll make a bracha of hamaitzi, and he'll eat non-Shmurah Matzoh. Then mevarech ala marar. Then right away he should go ahead and make the bracha on marar, and he should eat his marar. Uberchas al achilas matzah. Now the bracha of al achilas matzah, when he wants to be yoytze the mitzvah of matzah, yavarech lebasayif. That bracha he's going to make at the end of the meal. When he eats the kazayis of Shmurah Matzoh. And at that point, he's going to be mekayim the mitzvah of al achilas matzah, and that also is going to serve as his afikaimen. Even though really you're always supposed to eat the matzah of the mitzvah before you eat the marar, and in this case, you're going to be eating the marar before the matzah of the mitzvah. Why do you typically eat the matzah first? Mishum shenamar, because it says in the pasuk, al matzos umeroirim yechluha. Now the korban pesach was eaten al matzos umeroirim. So first matzah and then maror. Betchila matzah hadam aroirim. Aber heiche delay afsher. When you have no choice, when you have no possibility of doing that, shani, then you could do different. Now, we jumped the gun a little bit. I read this whole Mishnah Berurah to you before we covered all this in the Shulchan Aruch. So let's just review now. Let's read the Lashon of the Shulchan Aruch. So the Shulchan Aruch said you only have a kezayis of Shmurah Matzoh. What do? Mavarech al achilas maror. First, you'll make the bracha on the maror. Va'oichel, and you'll eat the maror. V'keshegaymer seudasai, and then when you finish your whole suda, when you finish Shulchan Aruch, mimatzah she'ena mishumeres, eating non-shmura matzah during your suda, then mavarech al achilas matzah. Then finally you'll make the bracha of al achilas matzah, and you'll only make the bracha of al achilas matzah because you already made hamaitzi at the beginning of the suda. Va'oichel oisai kezayis, and then you're going to eat the one kezayis of shmura matzah that you have, and that's going to be your matzah shel mitzvah and your afikomen. Ve'enai tayim acharav klum, and after you eat that, you can't eat anything else because that's your afikomen. And ein maftir acharav pesach afikomen. After the afikomen, you don't eat anything else. So again, you only have one kezayis of shmura matzah, but you also have non-shmura matzah. So what do? When you get up to moitzi matzah, what you do is you wash, you take non-shmura matzah, you make a bracha of hamoitzi. So now you made a hamoitzi to begin your suda, and you were also mekayim the requirement that kiddush should be b'makom suda, and you made a hamoitzi, so to speak, close to the kiddush. So you made kiddush, you did the haggadah, everything else. Now you made hamoitzi on non-shmur matzah. Now you do maror. Now you make the bracha on maror and you eat maror. Now you do shulchan aruch and you eat your suda. At the end of the suda, now you take your one kezayis of shmur matzah. You make the bracha of al achilas matzah, not hamoitzi because you already made hamoitzi, and you eat your kezayis of shmur matzah to be mekayim the mitzvah aseh of achilas matzah, and also to be mekayim the afikomen. And after you eat that, you can't eat anything else because ein maftir achar pesach afikomen. Now, I'm just going to go, we didn't do the very end of Mishnah Berurah Oith Katan Gimel, where the Mishnah Berurah says, V'amechaber hishmit din dekricha. If you notice, the mechaber, when he laid out what you should do, he said you're going to wash, you're going to eat non-shmura matzah, then you're going to eat maror, then you're going to eat your suda, and then you're going to eat your kazayas of matzah. Excuse me. How about kairech? What happened to kairech? Do you do any kairech? Says the Chavetz Chaim, you note that the mechaber left out kairech. Well, mashma, the implication of the mechaber is the svirale that the mechaber holds, the loy mitzarchina le kricha, that in this situation, in this scenario, you're not going to do kairech. You're not going to eat kairech. Why? Mishum de'en loy matzah shmura rak kezayis, because you only have one kezayis of shmura matzah. So you're going to use that kezayis of shmura matzah for your moitzi matzah and to be your afikomen matzah. You're going to combine them in one kezayis. So what are you going to use for kairech? You're going to use non-shmura matzah for kairech. Says the Chavetz Chaim, uva matzah she'ena shmura, if you want to use non-shmura matzah for your kairech, loy chashiv kricha, you wouldn't be yaitze kairech with non-shmura matzah. Shaharei eina matzah klal, because for the purposes of matzah shel mitzvah, this is not matzah. It's matzah in that it is bread that's not chametz, so you're allowed to eat it on Pesach. But in the context of being mekayim a mitzvah with this matzah, if it's non-shmura matzah, you cannot use it for matzah shel mitzvah. So what's the point of making kairech out of non-shmura matzah? You can't do that. Now, you might wonder, all right, I can't use non-shmura matzah for my kairech, but I'm already using the one kezayis of matzah that I have, and I'm combining it to be mekayim two things. I'm using it to be mekayim the matzah shel mitzvah for moitzi matzah, and at the same time, I'm also using it to be mekayim nafikomen. So why don't I use it for kairech as well? Why don't I just make a sandwich with maror and that kezayis of matzah, and with that one kezayis of shmura matzah, I'll be yoitza matzah shel mitzvah for moitzi matzah, I'll be yoitza afikomen, and I'll also be yoitza kairech. And the answer is something that we already learned previously, and that is that you cannot be yoitza the mitzvah of achilas matzah with kairich. The reason you can't be yotzit with kairich is because by the Seder night, the mitzvah say of achilas matzah is a mitzvah say midaraisa. That's a chiyuv min haTorah. The achila of maror is only a mitzvah midrabanan, right? Because we have no carbon pesach. Maror, when you do not have a carbon pesach, is only a darabanan. It's not a daraisa. Therefore, when you make kairich and you put the matzah, which is a daraisa, together with the maror that's a darabanan, we would say that the tam of the maror, which is a darabanan, is mevatel the tam of the matzah, which is a daraisa. So you cannot be mekayim with the daraisa together with the darabanan. So you cannot do the mitzi matzah, the kairich and the afikaimen all together at the same time. Therefore, according to the Mechaber, drop the kairich because you don't have any Shmurah Matzoh to use for the kairich. And to use non-Shmurah Matzoh is pointless because that's not usable as Matzah Shal Mitzvah. Okay, now we go to Ais Katan Daled. Says the Chavetz Chaim, Al Achilas Matzah. So remember, you ate non-Shmurah Matzoh. You ate your maror first. You washed. You made hamaitzi on your non-shmurah matzah. Then you made your alachilas maror. You ate your maror. Now you're eating your suda. You want to eat matzah during the suda. You're going to eat non-shmurah matzah. At the end of the suda, when you're finally ready, now you're going to make a bracha of alachilas matzah. Alachilas matzah is katan dalet, says the Chavetz Chaim. The berachas hamaitzi. In this case, you don't have to make a hamaitzi. Because kvar berach, you already made a hamaitzi at the beginning of the suda on your non-shmurah matzah. So now you're just going to make a bracha of asher kedishanu b'mitzvaysav etzivanu al achilas matzah, and now you're going to eat your one kezayis of shmurah matzah. Oisai kezayis is katan hey hamishumar. Now you'll eat your one kezayis of shmurah matzah. Va'ola like gam bimkaim afikaimen, and that kezayis of shmurah matzah will serve as your moitzi matzah, where you mekayim the mitzvah say of achilas matzah, and it will also serve as your afikomen matzah. Shaharei ochlei ala soiva, because there's no reason it can't be your afikomen. You're eating it al hasoiva. You're eating it at the end of the meal, which is exactly what you're supposed to do with afikomen. Ais katan vav ve'enoi toyam acharov klum, and after you eat that kezayis of matzah, you do not eat anything else. Like the halacha is always after the afikomen. Ein maftirin achara pesach afikomen. So you're not going to eat anything after you eat that kezayis of matzah. Now the Chavetz Chaim points out, V'hinei, behold, kol zeh b'she'ein loy rak kezayis echad shmura. This whole halacha that we just learned only applies when you only have one kezayis of shmura matzah. Aval im yesh loy shnei zeisim. Let's say you have two kizesim of shmurah matzah. Then the Chavetz Chaim says, "Oichel kizayis echad betchilas achilasai." So then you're going to eat one kizayis at the beginning of your suda, umevarich alav hamoitzi v'al achilas matzah, exactly the way you do it every year by the Seder. Rachza, you're going to wash, and then you're going to make hamoitzi and achilas matzah, and you're going to eat one kizayis, and that's going to be your moitzi matzah. Your matzah to be mekayim the mitzvah of achilas matzah. The kezayis acher, and the second kezayis, yechlenu acha gemar suudasai l'shem afikomen. The second afikomen you're going to use at the end of the suda for your afikomen. And again, he doesn't mention anything here about kairich. Again, it seems, excuse me, that you're not going to eat kairich. All right. Now the Chavetz Chaim says, v'choyle. Let's say you have an ill individual, she'ena yachal lechal rak kezayis, who is only able to eat one kezayis of matzah. So over here, the Shulchan Aruch was discussing a case where you only have one kezayis of matzah. But let's say you have plenty of matzah, but you have an ill individual who it's just too difficult for him. It's not possible for him. He's only able to eat one kezayis. What should he do? The chayla she'ena yachal lechal rak kezayis, an ill individual who can only eat a kezayis. Aymi she'en lo shum matzah rak kezayis, or somebody who only has one kezayis of matzah in the house. He doesn't have one kezayis of shmurah matzah and then plenty of non-shmurah matzah. He only has one kezayis of shmurah matzah. That's all the matzah he has in his house. What should he do? Until now, we were banking on the fact that the fellow has, besides his one kizayis of Shmurah Matzoh, he also has plenty of non-Shmurah Matzoh. So we said, okay, wash, make hamaitzi, eat your non-Shmurah Matzoh, and then eat your one kizayis at the end of the Suda to cover Maitzi Matzah and Afikomen. But this fellow only has one kizayis. He doesn't have anything else. He has one kizayis of Shmurah Matzoh. What should he do? Says the Mishnah Berurah, Yoichal tavshiloi beloy hamaitzi. What he should do is he should eat shulchan aruch without washing. He shouldn't wash on his Suda. He should eat his cooked dishes for Einig Yom Tov, beloy hamaitzi, and he should not make hamaitzi. Va'achar sudasai yivarech hamaitzi va'alachilas matzah v'yoichal oisei kazayis. And at the end of the Suda, then he'll wash, he'll make hamaitzi and alachilas matzah, and he'll eat his one kizayis of Shmurah Matzoh, l'shem matzah mitzvah, and l'shem afikomen. That's what he'll have to do. He can't wash at the beginning of the Suda, because he can't wash at the beginning of the Suda and eat his kizayis, because then he's going to have to eat his kizayis, l'shem matzah mitzvah, and l'shem afikomen, and then he can't eat a Suda. So he's going to have to eat his Suda without washing. He'll eat his Suda without washing, reserve the kazayas of Shmurah Matzoh for the end of the meal, wash, make hamaitzi alachilas matzah, and eat it l'shem matzah shel mitzvah and l'shem afikomen. Now, avalim ein loy gam kein yayin. Let's say this fellow also doesn't have wine. You know, the COVID-19 shortages really hit him hard. He only has one kazayas of Shmurah Matzoh, and he doesn't have any wine. What do you do now? In Cain, tzarich lekadesh al hamatzah tchila. Now you're going to have to make kiddush al hapas. You don't have yayin to make kiddush on. You have to make kiddush, so you have to make kiddush al hapas, which we're going to discuss in the next Siman in Taf Pei Gimel. So this fellow is going to have to make kiddush al hapas, v'achakach yochal tavshiloi, and then he's going to have to eat his Suda. He's going to have to eat the cooked dishes that he has for his Suda. But he has no choice. This fellow is going to have to make kiddush al hapas, and kiddush al hapas you make hamaitzi. He's also going to make an alachilas matzah, and he's going to eat the one kazayis of Shmurah Matzoh that he has, and it's going to be l'shem matzah shel mitzvah and l'shem afikomen. And this fellow is going to have to eat his sudas yom tov after the afikomen. Even though normally you want ein maftir nachar pesach afikomen, this fellow over here is going to have no choice. Just see one thing here. Yeah, even though he's not going to be able to be Mekayim the halacha of ein maftir nachar pesach avikomen, he has no choice. Now, if you take a look at Dirshu footnote number 6, this is just a very interesting discussion. I couldn't pass it by. We spoke over here about a chayla, an ill individual who can only eat one kazayis of matzah. How about a person who cannot even eat one kazayis of matzah? He can eat a little bit of matzah, but he can't even eat like a small kazayis. You know, nowadays we have these charts and these pictures and these different measurements and weights for all the different shitas of a kazayis. But there's a very small kazayis also. Now, what if you have a person who can't even eat a kazayis? Can't eat a kazayis of matzah. Says the Dirshu footnote number 6. If somebody is not able to eat, or somebody who doesn't even have a kazayis of Shmurah Matzoh. The Minchas Chinuch writes a very interesting chakira in halacha. The achrayim differ. If you do not have the minimum share of matzah, you don't have a kazayis of matzah, or you're unable to eat the minimum share of matzah, do you eat matzah anyway? Do you have a chiyuv min haTorah to eat less than a shear? You're not going to be mekayim the mitzvah anyway, right? You can't be mekayim the mitzvah, you don't have a shear. But still, should you eat whatever you have? You have a tiny little bit of matzah. Do you have a chiyuv min haTorah to eat whatever you have, even though it's not a shear? So the Minchas Chinuch brings down that this is the subject of a machlokes between the achrayim. Ha'im doima bazel isurim. Do we compare this to the case of an isser, of a prohibition? Shebahem chatzi shir aser min haTorah. We know that there's a concept of chatzi shir aser min haTorah. For example, by Hoitzah on Shabbos, by the prohibition to transfer something from one Rishus to another Rishus on Shabbos, the Isser of carrying. We know that in Halacha, there's a minimum amount that you have to carry in order to be over the Isser of Hoitzah. You're not over the Isser of Hoitzah min HaTorah if you take out a crumb. Right, that's not really the Isser of Hoitzah. There's a shear. You have to carry out a davar chashuv. So how about is it mutar min haTorah to carry out even something tiny? And the answer is that there's a sheet that says chatzi shear aser min haTorah. Even a half a shear, there's still an Isser midaraisa to be over an Isser with less than a shear. So do we compare the chiyuv of a mitzvah to an Isser? The same way that there's an Isser min haTorah on a chatzi shear also min haTorah. Is there also a chiyuv min haTorah, an obligation min haTorah to be mekayim a mitzvah with less than the shear? The chein dan bezeh b'shal setshuvas arletzion, the shal setshuvas arletzion also goes into this. Hayim pater hu milechal matzah klal. Are you totally exempt from the obligation of achilas matzah? Kevin chu pachas mikashir, if you have less than a shear. Aisha olav lechal kifi masha yuchal. Or do you say that there still is a chiyuv min haTorah to eat whatever you could eat? The Kosav, the Shals Uchuvas Alutzian writes, Shetzarchu lechal kol masha yuchal, that he's mechuyev to eat whatever he can. Nevertheless, im yizdamin loy la'acham ikein lechal kishir. Let's say he only has a few crumbs of matzah. So Shals Uchuvas Alutzian says you have less than a shear, you're still obligated min haTorah to eat whatever you have. So fine. So you ate whatever you had. You had a half as ice, and you ate it. And now later, in the middle of the night, somebody comes, knocks on the door, and says, "Great, Berurah Taiva, I have a kazayis matzah for you." So now the Yeshua Setshuvas Halutzian says, even though I'm telling you that the half as ice that you ate earlier in the night, you had a chiyuv min haTorah to eat it, even though it was less than a shear, you still were not mekayim the mitzvah min haTorah properly. So if you get a shear later, mikamokim, nevertheless, if you stamil elachim, you can't lechel kishir, chayiv lachzer v'lechel kazayis. You're certainly chayiv to go ahead and eat the kazayis to be mekayim the mitzvah properly. Okay. Now let's go to the top of Tzadik Amud Beis to the words of the Ramah. Hagah, says the Ramah, let's say somebody only has 3 matzahs for both starim. That's all he has. He has 3 matzahs, 3 whole matzahs to cover himself for both starim. What does he do? Says the Ramah, Yavarech leil rishain hamoitzi v'al achilas matzah v'chein hakricha hakoil min haprusa. He should take all 3 matzahs, the way he would every year. He should take all 3 matzahs. He should make the bracha of hamoitzi lechem in aretz and asher kedishanu b'mitzvayis of itzivanu al achilas matzah the same way he does every year. But when it comes time to eat, he should eat the moitzi matzah and the kairech and the kricha. He should eat everything min haprusa, from the broken middle matzah. Ushtei hashleimos, and the 2 remaining whole matzahs. So again, he started off this Seder with the 3 matzahs that he has. So he's going to break the middle one, and half of the middle one, the slightly larger piece of the middle one, is going to be the afikomen, and the other piece of the broken matzah is going to have to, excuse me, is going to have to cover him for moitzi matzah and for kairich. So by the end of the night, he will have consumed 1 matzah. He will have consumed his middle matzah, and his middle matzah will have provided him with moitzi matzah, with kairich, and with afikomen. Excuse me for 1 second. Okay, so the broken matzah, and I guess he's going to have to use small shiurim. Like we said, we have larger kazesim and smaller kazesim. So I guess he's going to measure out these kazesim with very small kazesim. Otherwise, there's no way that 1 matzah is going to cover him for everything that he needs. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shakol niyeh b'dvarei. Incidentally, Do we realize what we say every time we make a bracha on a glass of water? You realize the great import of what I just said? Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, shehakol nihiyeh b'dvarei, that everything happens by His word. What a statement that is, and we make it so many times during the day. Every time we reach for a drink, every time we reach for a coffee, every time we asher Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu. There's so much in here. Elokeinu, our God, melech haolam, the King of the world, shehakol nihiyeh b'dvarei, that everything that happens is by His word. Ani mamin be'emunah shalema she'haborei yisbarach shemai hu borei umanig l'chol haberuim. That's what we're saying every time we make a bracha of shehakol. The Chazal gave us such a rich opportunity to remind ourselves so many times during the day of the Rebbeinu Shalom. Every time we walk out of a room or into a room, we see a mezuzah. Echad yachid u'miyuchad. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Every time we make a bracha, the opportunity that we have to reset our priorities and remind ourselves of everything that's important. So back to what we're discussing over here. So again, he started off the Seder with the only 3 matzahs that he has. So the middle matzah he's going to break. From that matzah, he's going to have his afikomen, he's going to have his moitzi matzah, and he's going to have his karich. So basically, he's going to comport himself by the first Seder. Basically, we'll see in the Dirshu footnote, there might be a little change, but he's basically going to comport himself the way he does every year. But he's going to make sure to get everything from the middle matzah. He's only going to consume the middle matzah, and he's going to leave the other 2 matzahs whole for the next night. Says the Mishnah Berurah in Eis Katan Zayin, Rak Shalish Matzahs. He only has 3 matzahs. Dem Hayaloi Arba, if he had 4 matzahs, Hayamistapik B'Yom Rishon Mishnayim U'Shnayim L'Leil Sheni. If somebody had 4 matzahs, we would tell him to follow the minig of the Gra, and we would tell him not to use 3 matzahs by the Seder, but to use 2 matzahs. So the first night you have 2 matzahs, right? You buy yachatz, you'll break 1, and then you'll make your brachas over the whole matzah and the prusa, and you'll comport yourself like the minig hagra. And for the second night, you'll also have 2 matzahs, no biggie. But you only have 3 matzahs. What do you do if you only have 3? He's going to have to get the moitzi matzah and the karich and the afikomen all from the broken matzah. Sheparas mimena kvar kazayis lafikomen. You already broke it by yachatz for the afikomen. Now here, this is a critical line in the Chavetz Chaim over here. The Chavetz Chaim says min haprusa, from the broken matzah, sheparas mimena kvar, that you already broke kazayis lafikomen. You already broke off a kazayis for the afikomen. What does he mean you already broke it? Well, it would seem that what he's saying is you broke it by yachatz. That's why I said it seems from here that by the first Seder night, you're really going to comport yourself the way you do every year by the Seder. Dahainu, you're going to do kadesh, orchatz, karpas, yachatz. By yachatz, you're going to break the middle matzah. Now later on, rachza, moitzi matzah. By moitzi matzah, like you do every year, what are you going to do? You're going to hold all 3 matzahs. You're going to make the bracha of hamoitzi. So you're being mekayim lechem mishnah with the 2 whole matzahs. You're going to drop the bottom matzah, hold the top matzah and the broken matzah, and you're going to say asher kiddushanu b'mitzvayis v'tzivanu al achilas matzah. And then you're going to use the middle matzah for everything that you need, for moitzi matzah, for karek, and for afikomen. So are you ever eating from the top matzah, from the bottom matzah? No, you're not. Now, what's interesting about that is that would seem to imply that you're being mekayim the requirement of lechem mishnah with matzahs that you're not eating. Now, we discussed this earlier. There's a machlokes whether or not the prusa is part of the lechem mishnah. Maybe the prusa is part of the lechem mishnah because by the Seder night, you need lechem oini, and the lechem mishnah has to be on a broken matzah. But that's the subject of differing opinions. That's why we, who use 3 matzahs, we make sure that we have 2 whole matzahs for lechem mishnah. But here, you're not eating from those. And really, it would seem that typically there's a requirement to be Mekayim Lechem Mishnah with matzah that you're eating. And this is really the subject of footnote number 8, even though the Chavetz Chaim is going to touch upon this later in the Mishnah Berurah. But I want to read footnote number 8 anyway, because it serves as a very good hakdama, a very good backdrop for what we're going to see in the Mishnah Berurah, where the Mishnah Berurah is a little vague. From the words of the Mishnah Berurah himself, I don't think you see really what problem he's addressing. Says the footnote number 8 over here. Shaparas mimena kvar kazayis lafi kaimen. You already broke the yachatz matzah, the middle matzah, and you took off a kazayis for the afi kaimen. Umashma medvarav, the implication of the Chavetz Chaim's words, like I said, shechoitzes hamatzah kishar hashanim, that you're going to break the middle matzah like you do every other year. Oid lifnei berachas hamaitzi. You're going to break it by yachatz before you make the hamaitzi. V'nimtza, and thus it comes out, shedin lechem mishnah, that the halacha of lechem mishnah miskayim b'shtei hamatzos hashleimos. You're fulfilling the requirement of lechem mishnah with the top matzah and the bottom matzah, with the 2 whole matzahs. Av she'eino yochel ela min hamatzah haprusa. Even though you're only eating from the prusa, you're not eating from the whole matzahs. V'im kain, if so, who deloy k'moshe kasav ha-Pri Megadim, it would seem that the Chavetz Chaim is saying not like what the Pri Megadim writes. She'ba'ofen zeh gam b'layla harishon ein choitzim es hamatzah ela la'achar berachas hamaitzi. The Pri Megadim says different than this. The Pri Megadim makes it clear that in this scenario, you do not break the middle matzah by yachatz. You keep all 3 matzahs whole until after the bracha of hamaitzi. This that we break the middle matzah by yachas, it's not brought down in Shas. It seems to be a minig that we break the matzah by yachas. So there's no great need, there's no great requirement to break the matzah by yachas. So why should you do it? Va'adif, it's better l'kayim chayvas lechem mishnah, to properly fulfill the requirement of lechem mishnah. Keep the middle matzah whole until after hamaitzi. That way you're eating from the lechem mishnah matzah when you eat the matzah. Because you want to eat from at least one. The Gra holds all year round that to be mekayim lechem mishnah, you have to eat from both chalas. So the Gra holds that you got to eat from both. But even those that hold that you don't have to eat from both seem to hold that you have to eat from at least one. So we don't want you to be mekayim lechem mishnah with the top matzah, the bottom matzah, that you're not going to eat at all, and only eat everything from the middle matzah. So says the Pri Megadim, don't break the middle matzah by yachatz. Keep it whole until after hamaitzi. So that way the middle matzah is part of the lechem mishnah, and then eat everything from the middle matzah. So at least you ate from one of the lechem mishnah matzahs. But like he pointed out here in footnote number 8, the Chavetz Chaim, from the way he wrote it, seems to say that no, you're going to break it the way you always do every year. I would throw out the possibility that the Chavetz Chaim is saying, as far as the need to eat from the lechem mishnah, well, there are those shittas that hold that the prusa is part of the lechem mishnah. So even though typically we hold the top matzah and the bottom matzah as well as the middle matzah in order to be mekayim lechem mishnah with 2 whole matzahs, there are shittas that hold that you mekayim lechem mishnah by the Seder with the broken matzah. It's all right. So you're worried about about that you need to eat from the lechem mishnah matzah. Maybe the prusa is the lechem mishnah matzah. So maybe that's why the Chavetz Chaim is not so concerned with it. Now let's go to Ois Cut and Tess. So the Ramah said, this is what you're going to do on the first night, and you're going to leave the 2 whole matzahs for the second night. Ushtei shleimos l'leil sheni. Says the Chavetz Chaim in Ois Cut and Tess, mishum lechem mishnah. You need the 2 whole matzahs for the next night because you need lechem mishnah. If you're going to break another one of the matzahs, so you're not going to have 2 whole matzahs for the second Seder. So eat everything from the middle matzah on the first night, leave 2 whole matzahs for the second night for lechem mishnah. Now, here the Chavetz Chaim says, Yesh me'achroinim shekosvu. There are achroinim that write, and he's bringing this down from the Graz. Yesh me'achroinim shekosvu. There are achroinim that write, Shebazeh, in this scenario, on the second night, when you're starting off the Suda with they're starting off the Seder with 2 whole matzahs. Lo yivtza prusa lafi kaimen belel sheni ad la'achar birchas hamaitzi. So now, again, on the second night, the Graz writes, do not break one of the 2 matzahs by yachatz. Leave it whole until after the bracha of hamaitzi. Kaidem birchas alachilas matzah. Before you make the bracha of alachilas matzah. Kedei sheyivarach hamaitzi alechem ishta shleimos. Because don't break the matzahs by yachatz and then don't have 2 whole matzahs for lechem mishnah. We want you to have 2 whole matzahs for lechem mishnah. So don't break the matzah until after hamaitzi, but break it before the bracha of alachilas matzah, because that bracha you have to make ad lechem oini. So there you need a broken piece. Alachilas matzah yivarach ala prusa chaprusa lechem oini. Kasav Magen Avram. The Magen Avram writes, Im efshar loy l'shayer Balel Rishon, Prusa Ketana Shel Kizayis Yeshar. Now, this seems so unlikely, especially with the shiurim that we use. He says, the Magen Avraham says, in this scenario, on the first night, you're using the middle matzah for your mitzvah matzah, for your kairich, for your afikomen. Now, you need at least a kizayis for all 3 of those. So that's 3 kizayisim so far. Says the Magen Avraham, if you could leave over a kizayis from the middle matzah for the second night, you should do so. Leave over a kazayis, so 4 kazayis. Leave over a kazayis for the second night. V'yanichena bolel sheni, leave it over for the second night, bein shtei ashleimos, and put it as a middle matzah between the 2 shleimos. Kedei sheyeh lo lechem mishnah melavada prusa shemavarach aleh al achilas matzah. This way you'll have lechem mishnah and you'll have a prusa. K'moshen is bar b'sim tafayin gimel. Let's say you have the opposite problem. We're trying to push you that you're going to use on the first night the middle matzah for everything. Let's say you can't use the middle matzah for everything. I said that you're trying to get 3 zaysim out of the middle matzah. But how about the other people sitting around your table? Who says you're eating alone? You have other people that you have to give matzah to. So what if that one matzah is not going to suffice for everybody? So then the Mishnah Berurah says, Yikach prusa min ashniya. So break off part of another matzah. V'yasher matzah achas v'chetzia l'leil shniya. And leave over 1.5 matzahs for the second night. Tekevin shu shasat chak. Now the second night, it's zechah shasat chak. This is all you have. You don't have anything else. Yachal lismaich ala paiskim. For the second night, you'll rely on those paiskim, the svira lahu, who hold the Balel Pesach Sagi Lechatchila Beprusa. Right? You have the Shitas that hold that by the Seder night, you Bechlal don't need 2 whole matzahs. A matzah and a prusa is fine. Right? This is the gra. Right? You break the matzah. You have 2 matzahs. You break 1 by yachatz, and all of your brachas you're making on a matzah and a prusa. Because he holds that on the lechem mishnah by the Seder is supposed to be lechem oini. It's supposed to be 1 whole matzah and 1 broken matzah. So, okay, if you have no choice, you only have 3 matzahs, you need to consume more than 1 for the first night. So you'll consume 1.5 on the first night. You'll leave 1.5 for the second night. And the prusa will be part of the lechem mishnah. V'yavarach hamaitzi v'alachilas matzah ala prusa. Shal gabi hashleima. And then from the shleima, you'll use the shleima for the matzah, for your kairich, and for your afikomen. Instead of going weiter in the Mishnah Berurah now, since we are in Pirkei Avos season, and if you remember back in the days when my kids like to say in BC, right, in the ancient days of BC before Corona, we were in the habit of doing Pirkei Avos. We kind of got out of it because I had to go longer on the shir just to cover ground in the Mishnah Berurah to try to get back to the Dirshu schedule. But since we are in Pirkei Avos season, I would like to try to do some Pirkei Avos. I won't go straight into Pirkei Avos. I'm going to jump around because I want to do Mishnahs from the parak of that Shabbos. So now that it's after Shavuos, and we're going to be going into the first parak, so we'll do something here from the first parak. So, of course, Masechtas Avos begins with the Messiah, with the tradition of the Torah HaKadoshah, how the Torah HaKadoshah was handed down from generation to generation. And a lot of people look at this and they say, wow, like, is this really such an important Mishnah to show the chain of the Messiah? But it definitely is, because this is something that I don't think people realize. Nowadays you have these fools, besides that they're kaifrim, but fools of archaeologists and scientists and historians who will turn around and say things like, King David, David HaMelech, King David never happened. King David is like King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. It was a folk tale. It was a myth to try and create Jewish pride, but it never really happened, and we don't have archaeological evidence for it until, of course, they found archaeological evidence for it. But the same thing for other things in Tanakh, especially in Nevi'im and Ksuvim. They'll turn around and they'll say, what, you think Nevi'im and Ksuvim are so authoritative? Who wrote them, and when were they written, and this and that? It's critically important for us to realize that the chain of Messiah that we have is unbroken, and it's very easily traceable. It's not difficult to trace the chain of our Messiah. Moshe kibel Torah miSinai. Moshe Rabbeinu was makabel the Torah at Har Sinai in front of millions of people. Umisar li Yeshua, and he gave it over to Yeshua. Yeshua saw Moshe. V'Yeshua l'Zikanim. Yeshua gave it over to the Zikanim of his generation, and the Zikanim kept passing it down. Uzikanim l'Nevi'im. Eventually, the Zikanim handed it over to the Nevi'im, to the prophet that led every generation. Unevi'im esaru l'Anshei Knesses Hagdolah. The Nevi'im saw the Anshei Knesses Hagdolah, and they handed it off to the Anshei Knesses Hagdolah. Now, in the Mishnah, the chain stops over here by the Anshei Knesses Hagdolah. But take out a Rambam, Yad HaChazaka, and look at the Hakdama of the Rambam. And the Hakdama of the Rambam, in the preface of the Rambam takes the chain of Messiah straight from the Anshei Knesses Hagdolah, straight to Ravina and Ravashi, to the Siyam Talmud, to the closing of the Shas. From the closing of the Shas until the Rambam, it's also not difficult to trace the chain of Messiah, where one saw the next, saw the next, saw the next, saw the next. The Rambam that we learn now is the same Rambam. We have Svarim that go back all the way till then. It's the same Rambam. The words are all the same. It's not a book out of antiquity whose source is unknown, and we have 16 different versions, and we don't know which one is authoritative. And guess what? From the writings of the Rambam, it's clear. The texts of Nevi'im and Ksuvim and the Torah Kedosha, everything is the same. There are no doubts over here. The chain of Messiah is completely unbroken, straight back to Har Sinai. And once we link back to Har Sinai, that means that we're linking back not only to Har Sinai, we're linking to Moshe Rabbeinu, we're linking to Amram, we're linking to Kahas, we're linking to Levi, we're linking to Yaakov, to Yitzchak, to Avraham. Once you link to Avraham, you're linking to Noach. Once you're linking to Noach, you're linking to Adam. We don't have, there's no doubts over here. We have a very clear chain going back to Brias Olam. That's one thing that I would always try to take out and emphasize from the first Mishnah in Masechtas Avos. Another quick lesson, and that is that by listing the fact, by making note of the fact that this is the same Torah, it's the same exact Torah that goes back to the Dur of Maimed Har Sinai. This body of law that we have, the Torah Kedosha that we have, that covers every facet of life. It covers, you have a Yeridea, and you have an Arachayim, and you have a Choshen Mishpat. You have tort law. You have everything covering finances. You have everything covering Yeridea, Arachayim. There's no facet of living that's not covered. It's the same Torah generation after generation after generation. It's not like man-made laws that always have to change to accommodate the times and to accommodate how people think differently and this and that. It's not like lahavdil elaf alfei alafim havdalos, man-made religions where you have a pope that issues a new catechism Now we have a new, it's a new dar, it's a new generation. People think differently. We have to adjust it. There's no adjustments. This is divine. This comes from Barei Olam. Nothing changes. There are no changes. And it's not only that nothing changes, and therefore you have to contort yourself to fit an ancient document. No, the ancient document is the rule book and the guidebook of the world. Estakel bar Raisa bar Alma. The Rebbeinu Shalom looked in the Torah HaKadosh and created a world based on the Torah HaKadosh. Everything for every generation and for every time was covered in here. It was all covered in the Torah HaKadosh. It's all in there. And therefore, COVID-19, how you should comport yourself during COVID-19, it's in here. The Torah HaKadosh gives us guidance for how to comport yourself. You have a Rav. Go ask your Rav. Follow the psak of your Rabbanim. Don't do what some people are doing. Ish kala yashar be'einav yaseh. Everybody's making their own judgment calls and their own decisions. Over here, you're dealing with something that affects other people. You want to make your own decisions when it affects you. I'm not saying that it's right to do that, but as long as it affects only you, it's one thing. But you want to make your own decisions when it affects other people. You can't do that. These are shaylas lahalacha. You have to follow a rav. That's what you have to follow. And you also don't go ahead and pick and choose your paisik. One of the challenges that we have nowadays is, I always say, it's a great thing, Google, right? We have such a wealth of information at our hands. The tzara is that you could find any opinion that you want. You want to find backing for the fact that masks are beneficial, you'll find it. You want to find out that masks are not beneficial, you'll find it. You want to find that masks are going to kill you, you'll find it. The same thing with vaccines. You want to find out that they're good, you'll find it. You want to find out that they're bad, you'll find it. You want to find out that the best thing since sliced bread, you'll find it. You want to find out it's the worst thing since cyanide, you'll find it. So it's hevel v'rik. It's sheker v'chazov. That's what Google is. It's sheker v'chazov, Rabbi says. You want to know, you have to go in the Torah HaKadosh. The Torah HaKadosh is emes. That's where you find it. You find emes in the Torah HaKadosh. So go to your Rav. And the same Rav that you ask your Shilas in Hilchas Shabbos, and the same Rav that you ask your Shilas in Hilchas Kashrus, and you ask your Shilas in Hilchas Nida, you have a Shilah, you have a Rav that you go to, ask your Rav. Don't go ahead and say, I heard that Rav is matter this, or that Rav agrees with me on this, I'll go ask that Rav. That's nonsense. That's rabbi shopping. Right? Those doctor shopping. This is rabbi shopping. Rabbi shopping is much more dangerous than doctor shopping. Okay. So much for my rant and rave. Thank you so much for joining me for Limud HaTorah. Like we say constantly, the schos of Limud HaTorah should stand Gans Klal Yisrael in good stead. The Rebbeinu Shalom should be Megan on Gans Klal Yisrael. The Rebbeinu Shalom should protect everyone. The Rebbeinu Shalom should chick Yeshuas and Refuas to those in need. The Rebbeinu Shalom should send Parnasa to those in need. No one should know of any tsar. We should only know of Simcha. And the Rebbeinu Shalom should not only deliver us from this, the Rebbeinu Shalom should bring the Bias Gael Tzedek B'Meher of Yameinu. We should go to Yerushalayim Eretz Kodesh. We should have a Sanhedrin in the Lishkas HaGozis, where we won't have any more doubt and we won't have any more sveikus. We'll know exactly the emes la'amitai, the way everything is supposed to be. We won't have to have sources of strife in Klal Yisrael, certainly not. We won't have to have machlokes and differing opinions and this and that. We'll be able to have a Sanhedrin in the Lishkas HaGozis, Misham Yaitza Hara L'Klal Yisrael. Everything will be clear. It'll finally be clear. We won't have to have all these doubts. Be well.